Oh, hi, didn't see you there. Today we got an interesting one for you. I'm gonna do a Q&A while I'm taking my rest periods between various sets in the gym. We might throw in some sets and maybe a physique update at the end, but we're just gonna stick to some Q&A. So you guys had questions, I got answers. Let's get after it. First question, how much protein is sufficient? Now this really depends on whether you're trying to maximize gains, how serious you are, whether you're in a cutting or a bulking phase, but the majority of the literature seems to point toward pretty diminishing returns after you get to a certain point. And you start to get diminishing returns, I believe it's around 1.3 grams per kilogram, which would equate to around 0.6 grams per pound. Then it's quite diminishing after that point. Now the question is, where does it completely top out? That's still to be elucidated fully, but most literature points towards somewhere in the neighborhood of like 1.6 grams per kilogram or 0.8 grams per pound. Now, if you are in a cutting phase, I think it's good to make sure that number is a little bit higher because you're gonna use some of that protein probably in an energetically low state. You might not, but it's possible. So typically, just to keep things standardized, just to make sure that I'm doing things to the best of my abilities, I will consume 1 gram or often a lot more than 1 gram per pound, absolutely making sure. And I have noticed, at least anecdotally for myself, that when I keep my protein higher, even if it's not necessarily about muscle growth, I seem to feel better recovery-wise. That could be due to the fact that I'm eating more nutrient-dense foods that contain protein, or it could be due to the protein itself. We don't really know unless we've actually looked into those individual factors. But I would say if you are very serious about things, there's no harm in going above 1 gram per pound. It's just a very, very good anabolic state, and it will also ensure that you're not going too low, and it might give you maybe additional gains, but I wouldn't expect it to be anything crazy. Next question, how many rest days per week? This is gonna depend on your lifestyle, really. So for me, I typically only rest maybe 1 day per week, but I know there are a lot of people that have a lot more stressful lives, a lot more going on. So for you, it might make more sense to take 2 rest days. Some people even do better with 3 rest days, but it's not necessarily because of the fact that 3 rest days are better, so much as it is they just have so much going on. So I would say base this on your lifestyle. If you like being in the gym 6 days a week and you're getting good progress, do it. If you like being in the gym 5 days per week, everybody can make very, 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 very good progress on 5 days per week. 4 days, I would say, is a little bit inferior if you have the time to be in there 5 or 6 days a week, but you still can make amazing gains. 3, okay, now you're pushing it. 2, definitely not as good. 1, not even close. So if there's a kind of a diminishing returns effect here as well. So if you're going in 4 times per week and able to get in the appropriate volume, you're gonna get almost as good of results as if you went 5 or 6 times. But I think it would be hard to get the amount of volume that you need in order to fully max gains out if you were only going 4 versus 5 to 6. I need to get another set. All right, next question. Fitness, nutrition myth I hate the most. Oh, that's a good one. It's a tough one, honestly, because there's so many. Let's do hypertrophy oriented first. Probably the biggest myth is that genetics are going to determine whether you have a great physique or not. And when I say great, I'm referring to the general population. Even if somebody has really poor genetics, if they have a combination of a little bit of muscle mass and some good leanness to go with that, they are going to have, to the average population, a great physique. Does that mean that you'll be an Olympia contender? No. Does that mean that you'll be a top level bodybuilder? No. But the standards are so low in society that in order to have a great physique, really all you need is to have a low enough body fat percentage paired with a little bit of muscle. And every single person can accomplish this. Obviously, barring extreme disabilities or paraplegic status, like 99% of people are going to be able to develop, from an overall population perspective, a great physique if they're willing to put in the time over years and get their nutrition on point. Now let's talk about it from the nutrition side. I think the biggest myth that's been perpetuated is that all you have to think about is calories and protein. If you want to develop a great physique, much more than just calories and protein matter. Mostly micronutrients, fat intake, these things are going to play a major role in your overall body composition and how you feel, how you perform. but people don't think about it too often, so they'll just eat Quest chips all day long and think that they're gonna get as good of results as if they were actually consuming high quality food, red meat, eggs, salmon, good digesting carbs before their workouts. Like, all of these factors play a big role in how your physique is going to look in the long run, even if you can do an if it fits your macros approach for a short period of time and get similar results to doing a cleaner diet. In the long run, the person who has the cleaner, the reason I do this with cleaner is because it's become almost like a negative word in some people's minds. But the person who eats more of a whole food-based diet, is smart about their intake when they're intaking things, is just gonna get better results than the person that only focuses on calories and protein. It's as simple as that. All right, next question. I know you are currently natural, but do you think you'll get on anything sometime soon? No, I don't. People have asked me, okay, will you hop on test eventually? If I need it. Pretty common for testosterone levels to decline in America in people's 40s, 50s. So if it's actually gonna make a significant impact on my overall quality of life, sure, I'd hop on testosterone if I had 200 nanograms per deciliter. That would just make sense. But if my health is on point, why would I? That's the way I view it. Right now, there are significantly more downsides to me hopping on gear than positives. The positive would be big muscle. The negatives are so extensive that it just doesn't make sense at this point for me to do so. Would it be cool to see what I could do if I was to go on gear? Obviously. But at the same time, I'm equally curious to see what I could do naturally. So no, I don't think I'll hop on gear. It just doesn't seem to be in the cards for me. But that's not an indictment on people that choose to. It's just my personal preference, my lifestyle, and I do want to have an overall long and healthy life. Now I need to get another set. And if you're wondering what I'm drinking between my sets, this is EAAs. No, they are not necessary, but especially when I'm in a deficit, I like having them just to keep aminos running through the system to make sure that there's no opportunity for catabolism. If you're smart with your protein intake, you'll be absolutely fine without them. But I find this is a nice little extra assurance and allows me to have protein without impacting digestion in the same way as you would if you were having protein directly before the workout. Like I said, if you time things properly, you don't need EAAs, but I personally just like having them in my diet during a cut. All right, next question. What's my favorite muscle group to train? This is gonna sound crazy because it's probably my most lagging muscle group, but my chest. Well, I shouldn't say sounds crazy because everybody loves training chest, but yeah, I like training my chest. Now, does that mean that it's always gonna be the biggest muscle group because you like it the most? No, you have to deal with your genetics. My genetics are not favorable towards my chest. Now, my chest is a lot better than it used to be, but I would say chest is the most fun to train overall because it's not very painful, honestly. Like, you can just push yourself real hard with it, and there's very little pain associated with it. Although I do like pain too, so I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. But yeah, I like training chest the most. But for various reasons, I like training everything. So like quads are fun for me because it's a mental and physical challenge. Hamstrings are fun for me just because I've seen so much growth recently. Triceps, I would say, are kind of boring overall, but I really love the mechanical drop set that I do with it. So there's good reasons for me to enjoy every aspect of my training, but probably easier to ask is what I enjoy training the least, which is my glutes. It's just kind of a boring muscle group to train for me, but I know it's important. Next question, who has my favorite physique of all time? This one's hard to answer because I really like a lot of physiques for different reasons. Frank Zane was probably the guy who got me the most inspired when it came to bodybuilding, but he wouldn't be my current favorite physique. So he's more instrumental in my love for bodybuilding. But I mean, C-Bum just has an overall better physique. What other physiques do I really like? Stefan, he's an NPC guy from France. He's got a really good physique, but he's overall just not big enough to compete on the stage with guys like Chris Bumstead. Who else would there be? From just a pure, like, overall, like, just awesomeness standpoint, Ronnie Coleman. I mean, how do you top that? That physique is just, it's just something that I don't even know if we'll ever see again in my lifetime. Maybe we will, but that fullness, that size with that leanness, it's just absolutely incredible. I really liked his look. But I would also say guys like, Serge Nubret is one of the most underrated physiques in my opinion. Black guy who competed against Arnold. Absolutely phenomenal physique. Arguably could have maybe taken home an Olympia certain years, but never did. There's a lot of physiques and I like them all for different reasons. Next question. Am I a better creator than Jeff Nippard? I would have to say yes. I mean, the guy doesn't really know what he's doing, and honestly, if he was in the same area, I would probably tell him that. Like, I would just go straight up to him and tell him he's a worse creator than me. Oh wait, is that Jeff over there? Let's go do it.